government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
So here's the current situation. The world, as I said earlier, is more dangerous and divided. The U.S. has fundamentally changed its approach to trade, raising its tariffs to levels last seen during the Great Depression. Many of our former strengths, based on our close ties to America, have become our weaknesses that we must correct. Workers in our industries most affected by U.S. tariffs, in autos, in steel, in lumber, are under threat. Businesses are holding back investments, restrained by the pall of uncertainty that's hanging over all of us. The U.S. has changed, and we must respond.
El gobierno de España llevará a Europa la propuesta de que la Unión Europea rompa su acuerdo de asociación con Israel. Y lo vamos a hacer. Y lo vamos a hacer no porque tengamos nada, al contrario, somos un pueblo amigo del pueblo de Israel, pero no estamos de acuerdo con las acciones que está llevando a cabo su gobierno. Y aquel gobierno que viola el derecho internacional y, por tanto, viola los principios y valores de la Unión Europea no puede ser socio de la Unión Europea.
I spoke with President Trump for about 20 minutes, and he told me if Iran does not sign this deal, the whole country is getting blown up. He went on to say that bridges and power plants will be targeted if Iran does not sign this agreement. The president telling me that U.S. Special Envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are heading to Islamabad, Pakistan for meetings on Tuesday, possibly into Wednesday, to try and get this agreement across the finish line. The president telling Fox News this is a very simple deal, but this is the last chance for the Iranians. The president very clear in our conversation that he is not making the same mistake that President Obama made, giving cash to the Iranians and allowing them to continue a nuclear program. The deal on the table is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz to ensure that the Iranians do not have this highly enriched uranium that is buried deep underground after Operation Midnight Hammer last summer. And again, the president telling Fox News that the entire country will be blown up. Bridges and power plants will be targeted if the Iranians do not sign this.
This is my, Javier. You know what that means? It means friend.
Yes, a good friend. Yes, you are my dear friend. Yes.
And thank you for the kind words you said. And you shall hear what I have to say about you.
Thank you very much. Your name?
Please. How are you?
Fine.
Javier Milei has that quality every time he visits Israel. It's right before something very big happens. I don't know. No, I didn't tell him last time. I did not tell him last time. I give you my word. And I don't know what I can tell him now because who knows what tomorrow or the day after tomorrow will bring. We are at a time of great challenge and great consequence. We have been engaged with the United States in a battle against the great tyranny of Iran, which terrorizes the world, which seeks our destruction and seeks to bring down the United States, seeks to bring down Western civilization as we know it. We have achieved enormous things. It's not over yet. And any moment could bring us new developments.
Motor Vessel Toska, vacate your engine room. Vacate your engine room. We're prepared to subject you to disabling fire. Okay,
Okay, back to the SCIF. We're going to do these stories again later in the show, but I just want to reiterate what I was discussing before, which obviously was mute. We had to reboot the whole system. So listen, guys, we are in a battle. This is what's going on, okay? We are dropping this week some big news on Conservative Inc. There is controlled opposition theories. There is CCP connections. There are election fraud enabling and denying. There's grifting, and there's intel connections by some of the Conservative Inc. Providers. And so we're in a pitched battle here. I think we have state actors coming after us. I mean, there's no reason we should have been mute there. We rebooted, and I guess we're back live now. I hope. If not, let me know. So also, I understand our CDM Rumble is not working. Again, Rumble is attacking us as well, or someone is in the system. This has happened several times now as we come to the release of this information we're going to be releasing this week. So we are in an undisclosed location. No, actually, we're in the studio because we are under attack, ladies and gentlemen. But we're going to continue to push forward and release a lot of this information that we have and are ready to bring to the public. Because as I said in the beginning, after the cold open, we are in a global war for the destruction of the United States. Media is key to that. And it's bigger than that. It's destruction of the Western civilization. And it's not just battles in the Gulf. It's not just battles against China. It is a global, multi-vectored, multi-weaponized battle to destroy this country, and media is front and center of that, and we're in front and center of that. And we're going to disclose some information over this week of what we've gone through over the last 5 or 6 years and what we've discovered about a lot of the other Conservative Inc. media that is out there. And so wait for it. It's coming. We've got Alex coming on here at the bottom of the hour from Kyiv, and we'll talk about what's actually happening on the ground. I did go through some of the stories there, which were muted, but we will redo those later in the show because they're important that you know about. But while we're waiting for Alex, I guess we can just start doing that because we will we'll bring him in when he comes in. So we'll start running through some stories. As soon as he shows up, we will bring him in, but we'll do some stories in the meantime. This one, important. This is the Trump Tower Tbilisi in the country of Georgia in the Southern Caucasus. We may be going there. But it is near Azerbaijan and Armenia, one of the other Christian countries in West Asia, in the Southern Caucasus. Very important place. They fought a war with Russia back in 2008, and Trump is building a tower there, which we find fascinating. We've also discussed Trump's building of a tower or attempt to developments in Serbia, in Belgrade. So we will talk about that. All right, I've got Mr. Alex on board here, so we're going to bring him in and discuss what's happening on the ground in Ukraine. This is the best intel out there. We apologize for the earlier mute, but it's not us, I can tell you, and I don't know what's going on with our Rumble. Obviously, someone doesn't want us to play on our CDM Rumble. So we're getting multi-vectored attacks on us as well. All right, I'm going to bring in Alex.
Hello,
Mr.
Todd.
Alex, thank you for joining me this morning. I really appreciate it.
Hello, Todd. Hello, everybody.
So I have your PowerPoint ready, but there were two things I wanted to bring up, and we can talk about them now or later. One is women being mobilized, and two, just some of the dark stuff going on in Ukraine. But I'll let you direct what we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, let me answer those two questions. Well, 2 weeks ago, several women in Ukraine received fines, and they were registered in this mobilization illegal system called Reserve Plus, and they received fines from the illegal Ministry of Defense of Ukraine because they did not show up in the recruiting center. And they did not respond to this recruitment call, and those news sparked scandalous discussions in Ukraine how women receive mobilization calls in their mobile phones in the system, and how in the world they even were registered on this fake, illegal, unconstitutional digital system for military recruitment. And the Minister of Defense of Ukraine denied this particular news, apologized, but next week even more women received calls, and some women got arrested. And I've seen videos of bounty hunters actually dragging women in their buses and cars into mobilization centers. And the Minister of Defense issued a secret protocol of what women professions should be considered strategically viable for the defense of the country. And guess what? Almost all women professions are strategically viable, and this is why women can be mobilized. So my conclusion is that they're playing the games with the semantics of those secret decrees. 2 weeks ago, Verkhovna Zrada of Ukraine, Zrada, I mean treachery, the Supreme Treachery Court of Ukraine, the Parliament of Ukraine, issued this decree that women are legally can be mobilized. So now the society of Ukraine has to face this new reality that women will be arrested. This is my conclusion.
So just so our audience understands, the military age population in Ukraine has dwindled. Many have left, many have been killed and maimed, and they're literally pulling old men off the street, anyone to throw into the meat grinder. They're out of men, they're out of mercenaries. So now they're looking at putting women on the front line in combat positions. If this isn't depopulation, I don't know what is. I mean, this is the next generation, the mothers that can bear their children. I mean, it's disturbing that they would go to those lengths.
It's a genocide. It's not a theory anymore. And in my presentation today, I have some numbers. It is a genocide of the ethnics. It is the ethnical genocide and ethnical cleansing of the entire remaining nation of R1 Ukrainians, Rusi Ukrainians in Ukraine. They're cleaning the Christian R1 ethnic population of Ukraine. And this is done on purpose in order to clean the territory and then bring other ethnics to the territory of modern Ukraine.
Yes. The first African-American country in Europe, I think.
African-Asian country, yes.
Yeah.
Populated by some other ethnics other than R1, Rusi, Ukr.
Yeah, I said African-American. I didn't mean that. First African or Middle Eastern or Asian, West Asian country.
Yes.
So there was another, I'll just throw this up here. They're running out of men, so now Ukraine is talking about, I see this narrative, they're going to fight with robots and drones, and that's what's going to save Ukraine. Talk to me about that. Is that realistic? And
the audio is getting dropped. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I said there is a narrative out there now that Ukraine can fight with robots and drones, and they don't need humans, and they're building tens of thousands of robots to go to the front lines. Is that realistic?
It is realistic from what they're doing. And recently I was a part of an investigation into drone industry. I have just finished it last week. And I have the numbers for the quantity of drones being produced in Ukraine and Europe for the means of the for the military means, and they produce more than 1 million of various types of drones per year right now in Ukraine, outside of Ukraine, and then they import to Ukraine within a year. So that is more than 1 million of specific military drone equipment. Those numbers are very huge. The 25,000 of ground drones seems to me that it is one of the smaller orders from the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine and the Office of the President of Ukraine. What is more interesting and what people do not see from the news is that the stakeholders in the Office of the President and the stakeholders behind the screens from Europe, they obtain up to 90% of kickbacks from the delivery of drones paid by the Ministry of Defense. There are approximately more than several hundreds of incumbent players are in the drone industry in Ukraine, but the majority of those profits are shared by approximately 12 companies. So 25,000 ground robots, military robots, will not make a difference because 1 million of drones is destroyed per year.
Yeah.
It is interesting from the technological point of view, but it's not a strategic
Size.
size of numbers or technology to make a win-win situation for either party involved in the war. I think it's a pilot order.
Mm-hmm. How are they controlling these drones? Is it Starlink? I mean, you have millions of drones on the battlefield. They have to be controlled. So how are they? It's not fire and forget, right? I mean, they have to be controlled back unless they have a certain target they're going. I mean, what do you think? How does this work?
They utilize radio technology. They utilize the opto fiber. So some of the most modern drones in air and in the ground, they utilize the opto fiber lines, and this is the new trend in Ukraine right now. So because
I can see that in the air because there's no obstacles, but you know, you can't really do that on the ground when you have a robot dog or whatever, because it'll get clogged in a tree or whatever. I mean, I find this technological challenge daunting, and I don't see the Skynet here yet to launch the robot armies. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're already there.
So what I read and what I've seen in some magazine is that they utilize mobile Wi-Fi drones, and those mobile Wi-Fi drones, they spread the Wi-Fi signal, and they utilize the network of Wi-Fi, like mobile stations, like moving mobile stations or flying mobile stations. And this is also one of the new trends in the air. And I guess that they might utilize something like mobile Wi-Fi station within the ground drones.
Interesting. Well, I've got your slides ready whenever you are.
Yeah, let's show. All right, situation brief. Let's take a look at some of the casualties numbers. So I found this picture, and let's take a look at. It says that the total loss is up to 2.6 million, with unrecoverable losses 1.6, 1.8. So killed in action, disabled, and seriously wounded. So I would call them limped, okay? And the quantity of killed is above 1 million already estimated by some other sources. So let's go to the next slide. In order to check this slide, we have to look at the other sources. So when I do some calculations, I usually try to check 3, 4, 5 sources. So this particular picture on this slide comes from the Ministry of Attack from Russia. And the date is April 19th. So this is yesterday's information. So you can see that they report the military personnel loss at 1.643450 military killed or wounded. So killed or limped.
Yeah.
I've seen 1.1 killed, and the quantity of limped in Ukraine was reported at 650 approximately 3 months ago. So 650 limped in Ukraine, disabled, minus 1.6, we arrived to 1.1 killed.
And when you say limbed for our audience, you mean they lost a leg or an arm or something?
Lost a leg, both legs, arms, parts of their bodies,
Yes.
something like this.
Yes.
So they have become disabled, and they are entitled for some payment from the government, but they do not receive anything.
Are they being taken care of, Alex?
No. They don't receive anything. For example, in order to obtain a prosthetic leg in Ukraine, the cost is approximately $25,000. The government pays $250.
Wow.
So most people simply drive on the wheelchairs, and that's it. They don't have money to obtain the replacement of their legs or hands.
Yeah.
Next slide. So then let's take a look. Then the SU, Minister of Defense of Ukraine, reports that they killed 1.3 million people from Russian forces. Again, so 1.3 million dead or limbed. We can divide that some number dead, some number limbed. I don't have the breakdown for that. But we can estimate that the 60 to 40 killed and limbed. So that means that Ukrainian army killed more than 1 million Russians. So taken together, 1 million dead from Ukrainian side, 1 million dead from Russian side, 1 point something. So 2 million dead within 4 years of the war. And let's take a look who wins. Next slide. Well, please come back. And I want to make this conclusion. So according to the numbers, Russian forces report higher numbers of killed and limbed Ukrainians than Ukrainian Ministry of Defense reports the quantity of Russian losses. So from my point of view, when I compare these numbers have been analytical, I think both parties have defeated themselves. And this is the question: who defeated itself the most? I don't see a winning party in this war. It's a defeat from both ends, and it's a disaster for both countries, and it's a disaster. Well, it is a more disaster for Ukraine than for Russia, and you will see the numbers a bit later in this presentation. Okay, let's take a look at next slide. So while all those troops are fighting for the not so independence of Ukraine, King of Sweden arrived to Ukraine last week, promised $4 billion, promised old Gripen fighters for SS Galician troops. And I'm looking at this kind of news, and I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised anymore. So I have this mixed feeling of being shocked to the point of no surprise. So old Gripen fighters, 15 of those were promised 4 years ago, but they did not give 15 of those 4 years ago. So now they begin to talk about Gripen fighters again. And then take a look at those uniforms of those people who greet Swedish King and Zelensky. They wear the uniform of SS Galician again. I mean,
These are the Swedish troops or Ukrainian troops?
Those are Ukrainian troops.
So just for our audience sake, that blue patch is SS Halichnia, which is the Nazi SS fighter squadron that was in West Ukraine working with Hitler against the Russians back in World War II before they, kind of switched sides later in the war. But so that's what you're saying, right?
Yes. And what kind of symbolism do you guys want to find? They're not even hiding the symbolism. Everything is open. Yeah. I mean, you have just to take a look at it and see it for yourself. And what's interesting is that when this Swedish king arrived to the meeting with Zelensky, he didn't give his hand to Zelensky. And take a look, he's holding his hands, but he did not shake the hand of this usurper clown Zelensky.
Wow.
But then he participated in the flower ceremony, and he participated in talking. It's a hypocrisy on both sides.
Why would he come if he doesn't want to shake his hand? I mean, I find that just weird.
It is weird. It is.
Huh. Wow. Interesting.
Let's go to another slide.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what the situation on the ground? Last week, Russians advanced 150 kilometers near Sumy. And this was reported not only by Russian news channels, but also reported by Ukrainian news channel. A man on the left, his name is Arty Green. He's one of the volunteer kind of commanders in Ukrainian army. So he reported that it's a disastrous situation for Ukrainian army, and they had to withdraw. Basically, they escaped. They escaped the alliance, and this caused like the major advance of Russian forces, 150 kilometers. It is by military terminology, this is called a breakthrough. It's a breakthrough.
You haven't heard that anywhere. Nobody's talking about this that I've heard.
Well, the news were suppressed in Ukraine, but that was the only one person talking in Ukraine last week, and he was online in a YouTube channel. His name is Arty Green. And then I found the map of Russian forces being advancing 150 kilometers near Sumy, and this is a breakthrough.
That's a huge. That's a lot of territory.
It's a lot. It's a lot of distance. Yes, it is.
Wow.
So that means that there are no drone defense near Sumy. This also means that the lines have been penetrated. This means that the Russian forces advanced to the back positions of Ukrainian ZSU, and that also means that there are no backup reserves of Ukrainian army in order to drop near Sumy and defend Sumy. So Sumy is under extreme risk, and that means that there will be evacuation of Sumy very soon.
Wow. So what's the mood on the ground, say in West Kyiv or West Ukraine? I mean, what are people thinking?
Well, I have some parts of my family in western part of Ukraine, in Lviv and in Uzhgorod, Mukachevo, and I have several friends in Kyiv. And I have my sister living in Kyiv. And people say that people simply say, we will win. We should win. Let's bomb Russians everywhere. Let's kill everybody. That's what people say. Wow. And I find this illogical. Yeah. I find it. But people who I communicate with, they say that I do not understand. And if I do not understand, they tell me that they understand better than I do. And I tell them that let's look at the situation. Let's compare. And they say, stop comparing the numbers. Let's kill Russians. That's what people say.
Wow.
That this is the attitude.
Wow. It's Christian on Christian. I mean, it's disturbing. Okay, what's next?
Next slide. All right, let's take a look at what's going on in the country from the governmental point of view. On the picture, you see the Minister of Finance. His name is Marchenko. And on the right, you see a lady. Her name is Julia. Both these people on the screen are corrupt as hell. For example, Marchenko obtains kickbacks from Rothschild and a man on the right, you can see Salvetti. His name is Salvetti. So Salvetti runs the Ministry of Finance of Ukraine, and Marchenko is his puppet. Current Prime Minister Julia on the screen receives kickbacks from the Kyiv School of Economics, which is the Soros-based outpost in Ukraine. And let's take a look at the budget deficit. So just several weeks ago, the fake government of Ukraine, led by Minister Julia and Marchenko, Minister of Finance, approved the budget of Ukraine with the record budget deficit. And the budget deficit is $42 billion. But when I look at these numbers, I also understand that there total debt of Ukrainian government is above 200 billion. Cost of the war is 29 billion per year based on the documents of Minister of Finance I saw last year. But what's more interesting to understand is that there is an infrastructural loss of 1 trillion worth of assets, and there is a cost to repay the families of dead and wounded and linked, which is estimated at $366 billion. So the actual cost of war, if we combine all those numbers together, is estimated at almost $2 trillion within 4 years. And let's go to the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
And here is my question, and I can calculate the numbers. So I took the official data from the Minister of Defense and Finance, and I asked the question, how big and how cruel is a puppet master behind the war in Ukraine? So if the payment to the family, according to the decree and according to the Constitution of Ukraine, 15 million hryvnia per person, there are estimated 1.1 or up to 1.6 million people dead in Ukraine. So that means that each family has to receive $333,000, plus the quantity of limbed, estimated at 650. Each of those limbed people will have to receive up to $50,000. But I did not calculate the quantity of payment for people who have been linked. So I calculated simply for the quantity of debt. And I calculated that payment for families would amount $366 billion up to $533 billion for the quantity of debt in people. Can you imagine those numbers? And please come back to the previous slide and let's compare these numbers. Take a look one more time. So they vote the puppet idiots in the Supreme Treasury of Parliament of Ukraine, Verkhovna Zrada. They vote to accept an annual budget with the deficit of $42 billion. And the total losses of the country are already estimated at 1 trillion in assets and up to 500 billion in human lives. And guess what? The United Kingdom gave $2 billion. The King of Sweden gave $4 billion. And EU promised $90 billion to finance the deficit and the war. When we take those numbers and we combine those numbers, I don't see the numbers match, and I don't see a logic in those numbers. I personally do not see a way out of this budgetary trap. And I can call it not only budgetary crap, I can call it budgetary crap. This is trap and crap situation for the fake government of Ukraine. So this corrupted Prime Minister Julia Sviridenko, who obtains kickback from drone industry and from her fake teaching position in Kyiv School of Economics. This fake Minister of Finance, a puppet of Salvetti, they will need to be jailed. All the ministers and presidents of Ukraine, starting from 1991, they have to be jailed.
Yes, a lot of corruption is here as well.
This is it. This is my brief for today.
Alex, thank you very much. Always very insightful. We'll have you back, and we'll put this out on Ukraine SitRep over the Armed Forces channel later today. Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Well, Well, in the case of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, these are two medications that have been FDA approved for use in humans for decades. They are very, very inexpensive. Interestingly, available over the counter in almost every other country other than the US and Canada. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy them like we buy Tylenol in much of the world because they're that safe. And we've known for decades that ivermectin has very strong antiviral properties. It has anti-inflammatory properties, and both ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are what we call zinc ionophores. They help to move zinc from the bloodstream into the cell, which is where it needs to be in order to fight off a virus. So lots of application for these, and we have every reason to believe that those drugs also will likely have some efficacy against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. Going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today. I want to apologize again for the period of no audio earlier in the show, and I don't know what's going on with our Rumble. We'll be cutting and fixing this show and reloading everywhere within the hour or so. And we've got to figure out what Rumble is doing to us. They're reducing our followers as well as cutting our shows on our main channel. So not sure what's going on, but it's not good. Anyway, we'll be back to you on that. I want to bring in Ira Brashatsky, who is with Advisor Metals. Thank you for joining us today, sir. Appreciate it.
Sure. Always a pleasure to be on, Todd.
I wanted to get you on because there's so much financial uncertainty. The geopolitical uncertainty is off the charts. One day we're ending the war. Next day they're firing drones and boarding tankers. And, you know, the gold and precious metals markets are all over. The equity markets are all over. But where do you see I wanted to let you tell people where you see the markets right now.
Markets including equities or just metals?
Well, I mean, just financial markets in general, but specifically precious metals. Yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, as you know, I'm a chart analyst. I look at the charts, and I had people ask me. They go, "Well, what is happening?" Just as you're saying with the metal, and I just look at the charts, and right now the charts, are bullish for the metals.
Mm-hmm.
Know the Fibonacci retracements and expansions, and the big Fibonacci retracement is when the price from a recent high goes down 50%. That's usually a support level. So what happened in the last month? We had silver going up to $118 or so on the spot price, and then what happened? It dropped down to about $68 or so. So it was right near the 50% retracement, and now it's up to almost 80. So that's in my blog post, which you get, that's what I tell people. And what about gold? Okay, so I look at the 50 and 200-day moving averages. Those are the big ones. Those are the ones that the big players look at: hedge funds, mutual funds, etc. So what happened about a month or so ago? Gold dropped down right to the 200-day moving average. I mean, it got within a few dollars of it, and then boom, now it's up, several $100s since then. Everything is in the price. The charts tell you everything. And there's an interesting story this morning. I don't know if you saw it from the BBC, saying that implying, because the BBC hates Israel and hates America. They're saying that there's insider trading in the Trump administration, because in the poly markets and things in the prediction markets, things started to move before Trump made all these announcements, about the Strait of Hormuz, even with the tariffs, the Liberation Day. And I'm going, what about Nancy Pelosi? Come on. Congress does not have, insider trading issues. So, yeah.
Do you have an idea of, I have some guesses, but I guess there was like a $760 million put on or whatever on oil right before Trump announced some good news and the price dropped. Do you have any guesses of where that's coming from?
Probably Congress, and it leaks somewhere, and it's very rare. And if I could interject an interesting story, I may have told you this a few months ago. So I know the CEO of this medical company, and I got in on pre-IPO a few years ago, and they did the IPO, and he said, "Do you watch?" I said, "No, I don't watch the price, because there's probably two ways I'm going to sell this. One, it's going to be an inheritance for my family, or two, you get taken over." I said, "I'm in for the long haul." So what happened back in December? Okay, so it's they've been around a few years, the company. The stock, so after the IPO, the stock languished. So it started moving up. Middle of December, it started moving up. Between the end of December to the first week of January, it kind of doubled. Going like, what's going on here? What happened January, like 5th, 6th? The announcement came out. The company made an announcement that they're got a new CPT code for insurance coverage, and they can cover millions of more people now. And I got to tell you, this company is very Midwest, very straight-laced. There is no way that they leaked anything. No way. Yeah. So it's out there, things like that. So and it was all in the price. 6 weeks before, I saw the price moving up.
Wow. Well, it's definitely some smart or corrupt smart money, or however you want to call it out there. Definitely. Okay, so I'm Joe Bag of Donuts in Omaha, and I've got, I worked my whole life for, I don't know, American Airlines, and I've got a 401k. It's worth $500,000, and I'm worried about the markets. I'm worried about my retirement. I just retired. I rolled my 401k into an IRA. How do I protect it, Ira?
I think I know that customer.
You might.
Yeah, I know that customer.
Yeah. We've got a lot of good feedback from people working with you. So,
diversify. And metals are part of it. And what percentage is in there? I mean, I've seen so many things, and the financial advisors or whoever, they say, put 5 or 10% into gold or silver or what have you. But it's all over the board. There was several years ago, got to be 6-7 years ago now, I had a customer that he had the TSP, because he worked for the government. It was like $600,000. He goes, "I want to put it all into gold." So, "No, are you sure?" "I want to put it all into gold." I mean, he's up 2.5 times now. And that was several years ago, and better than the stock market. And historically, when the stock market drops, the metals go up. I mean, that's just the way it is. Inflation, etc. And so diversify. Silver, it's a little more volatile. As you can see, having a big 50% run up and then the drop like that. Gold's more stable. So depending on the person's age, if they're in their 60s or whatever, 90% gold or 100% gold. Younger, maybe 10% silver, that sort of thing. And it's worked out so well, for the 10 years I've been in this business, for my customers, that they see it happening. When 2020, Warren Buffett says every now and then, the stock market's going to drop 40, 50%. I mean, it's happened, from 2008 and 20 and what have you. And that's when the gold goes up, it cushions it. And even if the gold goes down, it doesn't go down as much. So you live to fight another day. And it's just proven itself for millennia, not just the last few years, 5,000 years.
Amazing. Anything else you want to get out to the audience, Ira?
Yeah, I have another insider trading story.
Yeah, go.
This is great. So I look at the charts, right? So the 50 and 200-day moving averages, as I said, are the big ones. And back January 28th of this year, the crude oil went above both its 50 and 200-day moving averages and stayed above it. What happened a month later, February 28th, I think it was? Boom, the Iran war. Come on. You're trying to tell me people didn't know.
Yeah, I want to get that memo. we're just like the old, what was it, the old analyst, I forget what they call it, like preponderance of information or whatever, you make a good decision or something like that. There's people who are getting the inside scoop for sure. Ira Bishotsky, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I would say, if they want the inside scoop, the legitimate inside scoop, go to CDM. Go to you.
Exactly. We're the best out there. And thank you for coming on short notice. I appreciate it. Take care.
Always. Right. Thanks.
First time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door, absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight, and then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke, I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back, cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
Put silver wings on my son's chest. Make him one of America's best. He'll be a man. He'll test one day. Have him win the Green Beret.
All right, welcome back to the SCIF. Let's talk about a few more stories and wrap this one up today. This one is important. From leverage to liability, the Hormuz Strait is now Iran's biggest weakness. During the muted period earlier in the show, I was talking about how there is a coordinated, multi-vector, multi-pronged, weaponized effort to destroy the United States and Western civilization. China is obviously involved in that, but they're not the only one. And what you're seeing is a reset against that entire effort. And Iran is now, the strait is closed due to the U.S. blockade, and China's not getting any oil. So you've had the screens flipped, the situation flipped. And you have a situation where we're blockading instead of troops on the ground, which I find brilliant. I hope Trump continues that and does not land troops on the ground there, because I don't think we have the anti-drone and anti-missile capability just yet to protect our forces in the area. So want to continue on this. There's no rush. There's no reason to, take over that. We can just blockade it. Actually, brilliant. Another one I want to make sure you're aware of, the deep state coup against Tulsi Gabbard. Roger Stone, one of our great writers, put this out this morning. It's on cdm.press. Please check it out. You're starting to see some accountability. I hope it continues, my friends. We will see. But it is definitely coming. And we're going to have some accountability in Conservative Inc. over the next few weeks as well. Our paper in Maryland, the Easton Gazette, Abigail Spanberger, the governor of Virginia, signs unconstitutional bill to strip Confederacy-linked groups of tax-exempt status. This is illegal as hell, obviously, but it's anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-history, anti-American. So this was half of the country, and people have histories, and they need to be able to be proud of their history if they want it. It's not constitutional to strip people of their history. We will stay on that as well. We discussed this a weekend. U.S. disables vessel attempting to enter Iranian port, violate blockade. CENTCOM put this out this morning, and Trump expanded on it. So you can find that on cdm.press. I want to leave you with something that we are launching later today, Into the Lion's Den podcast with, let me bring this up real quick, with Dan O'Shea. Hold on one second. I'm going to play this. Dan spent years in Iraq running the hostage rescue, and he's launching a fantastic podcast called Into the Lion's Den. So I think you'll enjoy this short clip, and the podcast in its entirety, the first drop, will be later today.
Was a prisoner in the hole in the ground, buried alive for almost a year.
But imagine this being your home for 10 months.
The hostages, and so how can we ask the rest of the international community to do the same when we're not holding to the same standard? Added to that by making this public announcement that we do negotiate and that there is a price to be paid in exchange for an American citizen. Hostage taking is how terrorist organizations negotiate with the West.
Commander Daniel O'Shea is a retired Navy SEAL who served as the coordinator of the hostage working group for the U.S. Embassy in Iraq from 2004 to 2006. O'Shea managed more than 400 hostage incidents in his time in Iraq, and by the time he left, kidnappings had dropped to the single digits. Dan, welcome to the show.
So Into the Lion's Den podcast. It will be dropping today, the first episode, and it'll be on all podcast providers as well as on Armed Forces Press and CDM.press. He's got a lot of great episodes. So, wow, I'm being told this is muted again. This is just unbelievable. All right, guys, that was the Into the Lion's Den podcast. It will be out later today. Sorry that is... we're being attacked, guys. We've got to up our defenses. So it is what it is. We'll put out another version of this podcast a little later today. Kind of a disaster today based on all the attacks we're getting. Rumble down, YouTube's not playing, and our audio has been muted multiple times. Anyway, we'll put this out later. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to call it a day today, and we'll be back tomorrow with Pete Blaber and what's going on. Again, he wants to talk about Patriot Act, so we'll see you.